Hi, my name is Chen Shoukang. You can call me Soko. I'm happy that you're watching the reflection video I created for Studio One. In Folio 1, my inquiry was how to tell a story in a silent animation and create an atmosphere of loneliness through cinematic environmental design and ritualistic character animation. I've always been fascinated by mysterious ruins and lost civilizations, so I wanted to create an animation set in the Middle Ages. In Folio 2, I continued the same worldview, but shifted the focus from atmosphere to narrative tension. My latest exploration is, how can I develop the narrative through character animation, environmental changes, and lighting variations? First, in terms of environment design, in Folio 1, I used a mid-range view to showcase a majestic giant sculpture, with a distant view of an abandoned ancient castle overgrown with plants, and the character standing alone on an altar performing a ritual. The scale of the architecture contrasts sharply with the character, reinforcing their sense of loneliness. This combination of grandeur and desolation also resonates with the medieval fantasy atmosphere I aim to convey. In Folio 2, I imported and reconstructed a scanned statue of the Cromwell Garden Monument, refining it in C4D and ZBrush to add details such as broken surfaces and vine growth. I placed this sculpture at the center of a collapsed palace, using fog screens, broken columns, and environmental light-blocked shadows to suggest sacred decay. The dim lighting and mist make everything appear mysterious and eerie, which also enhances the sense of loneliness and atmosphere. In terms of animation design, in Folio 1, after the character completes the ritual dance movements, a white beam of light emanates from the ancient castle in the background. I used this light reaction as a narrative cue to advance the plot, replacing dialogue to complete the storytelling. In Folio 2, I used a transition in ambient lighting from dim to red to signify the completion of the summoning ritual. This environmental change, combined with the character's positioning and body language, allows the plot to be understood by the audience without relying on any dialogue. In terms of lighting design, I attempted to create a studio scene in UE5 that simulates natural daylight. By installing a ceiling structure above the scene, light filters through the gaps in the damaged ceiling, illuminating the central statue like a spotlight. This technique, reminiscent of the Tyndall effect, imbues the scene with a sense of sacredness while creating a clear visual focal point, emphasizing the statue's symbolic significance and evoking an atmosphere where tranquility and unease coexist. In terms of camera design, I employed a significant amount of first-person and handheld camera techniques. Especially when the character approaches the statue, the camera slightly shakes, enhancing tension and uncertainty. This unstable perspective enhances the audience's immersion while emphasizing the character's psychological state. The visual references that influenced me the most were from software's games, such as Elden Ring and Dark Souls. Their environmental storytelling inspired me to think about how to tell the story of a lost civilization through broken yet grand spaces. The religious symbols, symmetrical compositions, vertical proportions, and imaginative rituals in these games all influenced my world-building approach. Secondly, Polish painter Zdzisław Biksywski's dystopian surrealist landscapes made me think about how to visualize fear and loneliness. He uses post-apocalyptic architecture to reflect on humanity, and those structures filled with cracks and a sense of ruin helped me define the environmental texture and atmosphere in my animation. Finally, I was inspired by the music video for GRLG, VNG, by the Japanese girl group XG in terms of character design. Their visual language, which combines futuristic technology, military aesthetics, and ritualistic movements, is highly distinctive. I extracted key elements from their makeup, symmetrical costume designs, and stark lighting to define the ritualistic aura and sense of power in my characters. Regarding the project's successes and shortcomings, one failure was that I was unable to clearly convey the plot through character animation. The interactions between characters were too simplistic, lacking sufficient rhythmic movement, resulting in an unclear progression from summoning to confrontation. Although I attempted to the plot progression through lighting changes, the overall lack of clear causal buildup made the story feel slightly ambiguous. This made me realize that even in dialogue-free animation, clear visual guidance must be established through character design and camera movement. Most importantly, I realized I need a more intentional and structured script to effectively guide emotional and narrative pacing. On the other hand, I was satisfied with the lighting system I built in UE5, particularly the combination of top lighting and fog layers, which created a realistic yet tense atmosphere. Additionally, I established a clear production workflow from C4D to ZBrush, Substance, and UE5, improving efficiency for future development. Through Folio 2, I gained several key skills and insights. First, I mastered the basic functions of UE5, especially lighting, fog effects, material blending, and lumen rendering technology. Second, my workflow from modeling, sculpting, texturing to engine import became more seamless. Most importantly, I recognized that a balance must be found between grand world building and clear narrative objectives. Visual grandeur alone is insufficient. Audiences need to gain a clear narrative thread through character, behavior, and environmental responses. Looking ahead, I am to delve deeper into UE5's character animation systems, such as MetaHuman or Control Rig, to achieve facial expressions and micro-expression control. I am also interested in virtual cameras, seeking to experiment with more complex handheld lens simulations and long-take trajectory capture. Thank you for watching my reflection video. I'm grateful for the guidance from my teacher and the support from my classmates throughout this project. See you in Studio 2. Bye bye.